Welcome back, you guys. Today we have a Sig P226. Pretty interesting build going on here today. I have not done one of these before. Wanted to kind of give you a little bit of background on what's going on with this slide, kind of give you the vision of where we're going, to kind of better give you an understanding of exactly what we're doing as the work unfolds. Local customer that found me at one of the gun shows decided to bring me the P226 already worked on slide, and they're kind of just looking for a change, just something new. This is a toy to them. This is one of those kind of play guns I take to the range. They have several barrels for it. We all happen to have one of those firearms that's kind of like not our daily carry, but we still happen to use it a lot. This is the one. So a couple of things that we're going to first notice is that obviously there's already been work done to the slide itself. We have the Don't Tread on Me that's already been engraved here. It's already been Cerakoted once, and I guess this was kind of wet sanded or brush sanded in one direction to kind of give it that, you know, directional sanding look. I kind of like it overall. It's not too bad. It is a stainless slide, so it's not going to rust, so no issues with that there. And then, of course, on this side, we have some additional text here. This is something that was engraved on here. This wasn't originally here. You can kind of see a little bit of engraving through here. There's a little bit of an A between the G and the S there. Hard to see. Not bad overall. Pretty satisfactory for the image that we're going for. One of the things I noticed on this slide while taking it apart, while kind of examining it before we get to doing the work, was that the walls were actually pretty thin. So since the sides have been shaved off, you're going to notice that right here we have almost no serrations left. Okay, so we got some serrations here. As we get down here towards the edge, much thinner, almost to nothing there. And then if you kind of look here, you're going to notice that it's very thin, almost paper thin. I kind of find it hard to believe that it would come that way from the factory that thin. Obviously, we know that the slide itself has been shaved. I don't think it's in some sort of a you know, unsafe condition. I just think that doing additional work to the sides may just be a bad idea. Maybe that's the best way to say it. So I think we're going to skip any of the side work, and not only that, but I kind of like it. I mean, it's nice the way it is. Obviously, we're going to have to do a sandblast, a recoat, a resand, or whatever we decide to do overall in the end. I do like it, but if you look at this side, you'll notice we have some full-length serrations, some deep serrations. This side is significantly deeper than that side. Once again, this was done before I got it, so you know, you never know who does the work or how the work's going to be performed. Overall, I don't think it's bad, but sometimes adding on top of an already existing custom slide is not the way to go. We also have a top engraving. So what you're going to notice is we have the Bushmaster Don't Tread on Me snake. It's kind of small, not too bad overall. I think it looks pretty proportional left to right. I understand that the top of the slide is curved. That does pose a problem for the normal laser engraving people. If you're unaware of how to engrave on a curve, that can be definitely detrimental to the project of what you're doing. So I can see why they did what they did there. Now, what I've gone ahead and done is marked out where the iron sights were or will be going back on here. So since we'll be Cerakoting back through this, I went ahead and kind of just etched this real quick with a razor blade around where the iron sights are here. You can kind of see it there a little bit, and that just kind of gives me the area of workage. So we're going to work between these zones. We're not going to hit those zones. We don't want to cover any of the actual pattern up. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to only be staying on the top. We will not be doing any work on the sides with the exception of just doing the coating. We will not actually be doing any lasering or any removal of the sides at all due to the wall thickness. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to run a laser pattern on the top. We are going to punch some holes. I want to be able to see all the way through here. We're also going to run a pattern, what would be on both sides of the iron sight. So the iron sight is a pretty long for iron sight. It kind of comes back towards the barrel or towards the shooter a pretty good amount here. You can kind of see a little bit right there where the marking is. So we're going to work on both sides of that, and then of course we're going to run a pattern in the center, and we're going to have some holes in the center. One of the things to take into consideration here is there is a 9, a 40, and a 45 barrel that is used with this particular slide. So we want to make sure that we leave a significant amount of material left where the barrel locks up. We want to make sure that we don't run into any issues later on down the road. We want to have something that's really going to be an intricate pattern, but we want to make sure that we're not cutting any holes that close to where the barrel is going to be. So that's something to take into consideration while we're doing it. So we're going to see some holes in the center. We're going to see some engraving here. We're going to see some engraving up front, but we're not going to see any holes this close to the back. We're not going to see any holes up in the front zone because of how thick it is up where the barrel is in the nose of the weapon. So on the back zone, we're going to end up doing a very detailed pattern back here as well. More than likely, we're going to end up removing the Don't Try It On Me Bushmaster overall. We still have the saying what would be on the right-hand side of the weapon, but I think we're probably going to end up removing that altogether from the weapon. It just seems to be a little small for what it is, and I don't know, just kind of looking at the overall plan here and thinking that we can make the back match the front just a little bit better, have a little bit more flow to it overall. The Don't Tread on Me standalone by itself is a pretty significant saying. Obviously people know what that means, so I think that that's pretty cool to leave that on the weapon itself. Guys, what we're going to do now is we are going to get over to the laser machine, and we're going to go ahead and start working on the front section. More than likely, we'll bring it back. We're obviously going to do some color on it. We're going to take a look and see what it comes out with in the end. And I do have the frame here, so we're also going to be able to put this thing all the way back together and see it as a final product in the end. Alright guys, we're getting ready to do the top rear section. We'll be doing some matchup work just like it is over here. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, want to take just a quick second and show you, is make sure when you spend your hard-earned money, you do it somewhere reputable. This engraving can be felt. I mean, it's here. I mean, without a doubt, it's there. But it's just not really deep. This is something that you could basically sand off. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna take the Dremel. Take a look at this. I wanna show you guys this here for a quick second. Look how worn this is. I mean, we're down to like the white in some zones here, okay? I mean, it's pretty well smooth. There's really no grit to this even at all anymore. And we're gonna take this and we're gonna see how well it does on this amazing engraving. It's pretty much gone. If you were to coat over that, it would be non-existent. So the idea here is just make sure that you spend your money through somebody that's reputable. My hands are pretty well black now. There's a lot of companies out here that do satisfactory engravings, and there's a lot of companies that do this, and they charge you, you know, $25, $30, $40, $50, and like, hey, here you go. And if you were to ever, you know, get your gun sandblasted, re-Cerakoted, it's pretty much gone. They're just basically running it through the coating and they're calling it a day. They're collecting on that, and you're kind of out of luck in the future if you want to make any changes. So guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to get back over to the laser engraver. We're going to go ahead and do the top rear section. Of course, we're going to end up doing some coloring. I've got some hand sanding and some stuff that we're going to be doing, and we're going to bring it back as our final product. Alright guys, let's take a look and see exactly how this came out in the end as our final product. There is a lot of beauty in this pistol now. One of the first things you're going to notice is that we left the Don't Try It On Me. We did not touch the sides. We did discuss that in the beginning of the video. For my liking, the sides seemed to be a little bit too thin. Of course, they had already been worked on. So we stayed away from them. It was one of the things that I had decided that I just didn't want to kind of dive into. I want to kind of just keep my distance on those. So we ended up doing a lot of the top work. Now, there's a lot of beauty in this top. So we have the longer sight. Okay, that's what came on the actual slide when it came to me. We ended up doing some detail work on the sides, which is a step down and then a deeper step down. We've got a step down and then a hole. Of course, we're able to see some barrel down through there. Guys, I did go outside. I did get you guys some pictures, but you can kind of see some barrel down through there. Really just an overall extremely advanced design is really what it is. We ended up doing a pattern closer to where the barrel locks up. We didn't want to do a double step down, and we certainly didn't want to do a hole because we do have additional barrels that are going to be used on this particular firearm, the 9, the 40, and the 45. So I want to make sure that we left a good amount of lockup distance between here and where that first hole is. We then went and took this pattern, we reversed it over to here, and we added the snake back to the slide. Now this is not the Bushmaster snake. If you haven't seen this snake, there's a good chance that you didn't know who I was before I became NCEngravers. I used to go by a different name. I used to go by the name Unknown Pro, and you can still Google that, and you can still find a lot of my older content, and I would end up putting the snake on a lot of different patterns that I was running back in the day before I actually became, what would be, I guess, a business, when I was just kind of doing it as a hobby. And this was one of my most recognized logos. You'll only see that on a handful of the builds that I do nowadays with the NCEngravers. If you happen to find it on one of yours, consider that to be a rare or an oddball, because I just don't hand it out very much anymore. So it's kind of special to me in a little bit there. But you will see it on some of my other builds, especially if they're my builds. Now, we have a lot of character in the back. We've got multiple step downs. We've got a raised snake. We have a polished snake that matches the barrel. Let's talk about the coating a little bit more. So we ended up going with a tactical gray. Okay, we ended up resanding the pre-sanded areas that were already kind of gone over. So if you remember looking at the slide at the beginning, this was like a stainless, this was a stainless, and that obviously didn't change with the weapon itself. It is still a stainless slide, but what we ended up doing was tactical gray, resanded these, and then I did a little bit of a hidden, I guess it's more of a little bit of a mystery combination. And what I do is I ran a clear over the entire slide, but I add something a little bit to the clear, and that ends up giving it a little bit of a gold tone. So you end up having that little bit of a brashish gold tone, I guess is the best way to say that, on gray with our stainless. So we have multiple colors here. Of course, we have the black, we got the black sights and things like that. We have additional barrels. Those barrels are black. So we happen to have a lot of things that match on here. We have a lot of things that flow extremely well on here. Very pleased with the way it came out overall in the end. Guys, this just comes out being one of those deals where making the correct decision up front can be the difference between whether you're paying once and you're paying twice, or you're paying once for the work. And it's one of those things that I tell a lot of guys is that if you end up finding somebody that's like, yeah, I can do that, it's not a big deal, and they don't really have that reputation, they don't really have that kind of background in what you're really wanting to have done, you're going to find yourself that you're going to be paying twice. So I think we really changed the overall visual of this. Obviously, we have a lot of detail work in the back and in the front. We can see some nice barrel. I just love it. Overall, I think it's a very well blended piece. Very pleased with it. And guys, we got some pictures. We're going to show you those pictures. Now, if you're not following the channel, you need to subscribe. You need to click on that bell. You need to get your notifications turned on. When you got a little bit of free time, you can take that opportunity to watch one of my videos. Maybe you happen to have something odd, something that you haven't seen on the channel. This is the first time we've done a Sig P226. So what you're going to find is that we're not just that M&P Glock CZ kind of group that everybody else does. We kind of just do them all. Now, on occasion, I'll reject some work and I'll turn it down and say, no, we're not really looking for any new stuff. And sometimes it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse of what I can actually do in the time frame in which it needs to be turned back over to you. So sometimes I'll just say, no, I don't think I'm going to take that in. And it's not because I can't do the work, but it comes out being that in a time fashion, I can't do the work. Under a crunch, it just can't be done. So instead of leading you down the road of bad expectations, I just say no. If that's the case, and maybe that comes out the best way. Instagram has a lot of our stuff. So if you happen to not be able to find an actual build video on what you're looking for, there's a good chance you're going to go over to Instagram and you're probably going to find what you are looking for. A lot of the stuff is mine, so sometimes we just don't happen to do a build video. It just kind of gets done between the big projects. And that's just kind of all of a sudden something shows up and you're like, where'd that come from? Well, that's because it was mine. So we didn't take the time to actually show any of that work, but at the end we still have a product in hand, and it may be something that you're after. So feel free to reach out to us. We do have a form that you can go right straight off our webpage, which is NCEngravers.com. There's a contacts tab. Fill out the form. Let us know exactly what you want to have done, and we'll figure out exactly what we can do in order to get that done for you, what that turnaround time is, and see if we can iron out all those details between you and myself and get your project started. So guys, if you need anything, definitely just let me know, and I will talk with you on the next one.